Hello, I'm Judith Lowe, and this is another of our Practice Your NLP videos to support the development of your skills with NLP. And this one is going to be a brief video about modeling. Particularly, we've called it Ask the Expert because it's about self-modeling. It's about being able to realize that very often you yourself have an example of best performance and effective performance in your own personal history and in your current repertoire of how you are being, successful and effective in your own work and practice and in your own states and goals. So self-modeling, we're going to take the basic building blocks of NLP, V, A, and K, and we're going to set up one example where you are being super effective and getting the results that you want and having a sense of choice and resourcefulness in what you're doing. And in the other one, the so-called problem ineffective state and performance, so that we're creating a comparison. And we're going to do what in NLP is called a contrastive analysis and then a mapping across from where you're being at your best, learning from yourself at your best, being your own best possible teacher, and taking these elements of what works into the place where you're currently being less than effective. So here we are, learning from yourself. So in terms of visual, auditory, kinesthetic, you're looking at, first of all, let's look at the kinesthetic aspect first. What's the difference in your physiology? What are those key differences in posture, gesture, muscular tension, the way that you're breathing, the way that you're holding your whole body in when you're being at your best and when you're being not at your best? And here's a kind of bit of a clue. Often, people are more constricted, constrained, and tense in their posture, or more collapsed when they're not being at their best. Often, best performance, high performance, is literally characterized by a kind of free, upright, expansive breathing and posture. So that's the kinesthetic. Secondly, the auditory. Very often, best performance is characterized by having a flow in your language. There's often an absence of internal dialogue. You're often more quiet on the inside, but able to produce language well and effectively and in communication appropriately and ecologically with others on the outside. The less than effective, often characterized by internal dialogue, looping dialogue, critical, negative belief type dialogue, that you are just more focused on the inside rather than on feedback from the outside. So that's the auditory. Then there's the visual component. Often, best, most effective performance is characterized by a kind of focus on what you're doing, often by a wide, panoramic, open kind of focus. Often less effective performance is characterized either by no pictures at all or by still, small, dark kind of pictures. But again, people are often in their heads, kind of bouncing around out of direct feedback with the world, in their own constrained model of the world, which of course is just feeding back, amplifying the feedback of ineffective performance. So there's some clues about the kinds of distinctions to look for when you're taking your own examples, because what you want to be doing is, as I say, learning from yourself and then able to model, well, supposing I try on over here, even though it potentially is a problem, complex context for you, a different physiology. What changes with the more effective physiology? The more high performance, successful physiology. When you change your breathing, your shoulders, your movements, your gestures, what becomes more possible for you? What becomes more possible if, say, you change the beliefs, the dialogue, the linguistic, the auditory into this context? What changes if you change the way that you're using your visual representational system differently to when you're being more successful, more in touch with feedback, more able to be spontaneous, creative, more resourceful, etc. over here? What are these key kinds of differences? So this is learning from yourself, learning from the greatest teacher. It's a wonderful example of how we really do have resources. We often know much, much more than we think we know. And we can systematically learn from ourselves using this contrastive analysis in the first place, and then the mapping across elements from one performance to another, learning from yourself from when you're at your best and testing it out in the world, finding again what works, what leverages your performance in a good direction, in an effective direction. So I hope that's helpful. There are more videos for you on our new website, judithlowe.com. Enjoy your NLP.